Hey everybody, welcome to today's show. Welcome to Advocate Information Highway. I'm your host, Anthony Lorito-Duke, and we have a very interesting topic for today's show, in which it is Mamdani is not the right person to become the next mayor of New York City. He's not the right person for it. Okay, so let's get right into this. We're in election time, and in New York City, this is the time where people are going to be electing for the next mayor of New York City, especially this coming November. And as far as I'm concerned, Mamdani is not the right person to become the next mayor of New York City. And let me explain a few reasons why. Number one, he's been talking bad about Jewish people and Italian people. You don't do that. You don't do that at all. Okay. Number two, Mamdani said that all white people in white communities should be the only ones to pay taxes. You don't say things like that. You don't do that. Number three, Mamdani has said it to many Muslims. I don't know if it was in a mosque or wherever else, that one day they will take over America. Okay. And then you have a lot of other Muslims that have been saying the same thing, that one day America is going to bow down to the Muslim religion and that they're going to take over America. Okay. That's number four. Number five, people in New York, especially those that have lived in New York City or in the state of New York for, let's say, all their lives, they're not going to forget 9/11. They're not going to forget it. And I'm not saying all Muslims are bad. I'm not saying that at all. Okay. But the people that have lived in the state of New York, especially in New York City, for, let's say, all of their lives, they're not going to forget 9/11. They're not going to forget it. Number six. Number six. I don't know how many of my fans out there have seen this, but in the middle of Times Square, you've seen a whole bunch of Muslims practicing their religion in the middle of Times Square. You don't do things like that. You don't. They were bowing down on those rug things and everything else, and you don't do that. Religion needs to be kept inside of religious places of worship, and that's it. Not outside in the public or whatever. You want your religion? Fine. You want that? Fine. Keep it inside of religious places of worship only. End of story. I don't care what religion it is. Seriously. And now there's pictures of parts of Brooklyn where the Muslim population skyrocketed, has skyrocketed, right? And again, again, people of New York that have been here, let's say, all their lives or whatever, they're not going to forget 9/11. They're not going to forget it. They're not. So the people of New York State, especially of New York City, better start to use their brains. They better take their hand, shove it up where the sun don't shine, pluck out their brains and start to use intelligence for once in their freaking lives. And we cannot allow Mamdani to become the next mayor of New York City. Can't allow it. Can't allow it. Okay? Especially now that the way that he's been talking about the Jewish people and the Italian people, you don't do things like that. That's not what a mayor does. That's not what a candidate for mayor does. You don't do things like that. You don't. And then you got all these younger generation people that are going, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine, and all this other BS nonsense. And they're causing all this chaos and anarchy in train stations, on the street, and everything else. And seriously, seriously, you don't allow that. It's not the way to get things done. That's not getting the proper message across. It's not. And let's look at I know I said this in prior episodes of my shows, but I'm going to say it again. Let's look at what happened. I think it was last year for elections. These anarchists, as I call them, the younger generation, went and destroyed the federal government, those blue federal government mailboxes that had the ballots inside of it. They destroyed it, and then it was these people said, "Free Palestine, free Palestine." Here it was us that did it, and it was, I believe, it was also last year at some point that these anarchists took over a building, held people hostage, and held out the sign, "Free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine." You don't do things like that. And now, just a couple of months ago, I believe it was, about maybe a month or so, whatever it was, these anarchists went and did this big thing in the middle. I think it was Penn Station. I'm not too sure. It was a big train station. They held a big thing and crowded everything and caused all this chaos and everything. You don't go doing things like that. You don't do that. Seriously. Honestly, don't do things like that. You're not sending a positive message out. You're not getting the positive message across. You're looking like trash. You're looking like trash. People are looking negative at you now. So you got no positive message across. You caused all this chaos and anarchy and stuff. Come on. Mamdani cannot be allowed to become the next mayor of New York City. Can't happen. It can't be allowed. Start to use the brain, people of New York City. Start to use the brain. So what does that mean? Well, out of the 5 boroughs of New York City, because there's 5 boroughs that make up all of New York City. It's the 5 boroughs are Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, and Staten Island. That's the 5 boroughs in New York City. Out of the 5 boroughs in New York City, 4 of those boroughs only want a Democrat in office. Those 4 boroughs are Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Manhattan. The borough of Staten Island, the 5th borough, predominantly, not fully, but predominantly, wants a Republican in office. So when you got 4 boroughs beating that 1 borough, well, let's just say having a Republican in office, not going to happen. Now, people also do not want this socialist Mamdani in office either. So what does that mean? What is that? Who's left then? That means that there's only two other candidates that are running for New York City mayor, in which those two candidates are running as independents. So only one of those independents can become really the next mayor of New York City. Now, an independent is really neither Republican nor Democrat. They're basically like an in-between kind of thing. So, but independents are predominantly more on the Democratic side. Okay. So, anyways, people really got to smarten up, big time and stop being stupid. If an independent needs to be elected into office, then so be it. And so be it, because an independent still holds the beliefs of Democrats. They still hold that. So if you don't want a socialist in office and you don't want a Republican, then we need to have an independent in office. Okay? Which holds the beliefs of Democrats as well. So it would still be a win for Democrats, no matter if they voted for an independent, because independents still hold the beliefs of Democrats. So if we have to elect an independent into office, then so be it. Better than a Republican, better than a socialist. So, but anyways, I mean, I get it that people want, you know, the non-politician like, the non-politician thinking. They don't want a regular politician in office. I get it. But we can't have a Republican in office again, another one, and we can't have a socialist. There's nobody else left but an independent. So come on. If we got to do an independent, then so be it. Then so be it. But anyways, I want to remind all my fans out there about my website, Advocate Information Highway. The link to there is AIHNY.com. Again, that's AIHNY.com. You guys can check out all the pages on there. And so with that, take care, everybody. Bye.